of a problem with the Mokka. Driving along, we've got engine management light coming on and service ESC on the display. We've got these codes. No other symptoms, seems to be driving fine.
Correct.
Let's clear the codes, we'll try to. See what happens. Guy's gone curious. When clearing the codes, this is the one that comes back, which the internet tells me relates to the mass airflow sensor. So maybe we want to replace that and see what happens.
Let's do it.
It's about a week and a half since the last clip. I haven't done anything about the engine management light yet, and now Hannah's complaining about a noise from the rear. I've driven not far, house is just around that corner, and I've heard the noise. It's coming from the back, so check this out. Look at that brake pad. So that is the metal of the pad, and there is no pad, and you can see on the edge of the disc here where it is scoring, and that is what's making the noise. Interesting, as when we bought this they replaced the front pads, and in a previous video whilst I was diagnosing the E90's various issues, which video was that non-start one? Yeah, it was the one where I fixed it at the ECU. I took the front pads out because they were squeaking and put them back in. I didn't look at the back ones. So we'll get those pads ordered, and also let's fix the engine management light problem. So with the code P0171 fuel trim system lean and P1101 air intake performance, I've done a bit of watching on YouTube. What a great community YouTubers, fixes so many problems, or steers you in the right direction at least. And I now understand this is a bit of a common issue on the 1.4 turbo engine, and what it is a little valve in the inlet manifold. So inlet manifold being that thing at the back of the engine, and I'll get a picture of that purge valve on screen now. And this is just a way of the car allowing air into the engine as and when for fuel economy, I assume. And these valves get stuck open, or the seal breaks so air can get through, and that's what causes those codes. First time having the Mokka in the garage since we bought this in February, and it's now November. I suppose we've done well to get away with it for that long, but anyway, here it is now. I've been busy doing research and ordering parts for both the engine management light issue and also the brake pads. The brake pads have arrived. The engine management issue is going to be an interesting fix. I'm not going to spoil it now because I'm going to do the brake pads tonight on this cold November evening. Stick around and see what I'm going to do under the bonnet later. I'm not replacing parts like for like, let's just say that. Before I pull everything apart, I just want to check that the pads that we've got look the same. What's the new ones? Yeah, I reckon they look good. I've done brakes before on the channel. We did it on the M3 in a fair bit of detail, and I also had the front brake pads out of this car because they were squealing not so long ago, so I don't think you want to see me go into massive detail on these, but I will give you a bit of an overview of what's involved. Let's just get the wheel off. Here's the caliper then. This is something I've not seen before. Looks like it's there to solve vibrations or noise, I would guess, but otherwise it must be the same kind of deal. Undo 10mm the spanner there. Hopefully that all just comes out as a one bolt, and then you've got the 10mm at the bottom there. Not a 10mm at the top here, it is a 13. Very loose 13. I'm worried about rounding this off with a normal spanner. I feel like this is a really stupid idea. So I can't get my brake pipe spanner on, which would be ideal because it's basically six-sided. With this spanner, that's how much movement there is on it before I try and undo it. If I go and undo it and it rounds off, and I'm stuffed. I don't know what other option I've got, so I'm just going to have to go for it. Here I thought this was going to be the same as anything you'd seen before. Anyway, I'd gone to put some grips on it, thinking that I just didn't want to go too hard off the spanner on that because it was definitely just going to round off. And then I've gone to turn it and it seems that the rubber bit is separate. As you can see, the bolt that the spanner goes on, that will go through to the caliper carrier, isn't moving, but the rubber bit is. So maybe I can just unscrew the rubber and then get a socket for my brake pipe spanner on there. What a strange thing. To help I take the handbrake off. Just to clarify that I did that damage trying to get it out. It wasn't already like that. Okay, next is the carrier, which looks like 17 mils. If you've seen the M3 video of us doing the brake discs, you'll remember that I had trouble with this grub screw and I bought myself an impact driver, so let's make use of it again. Giving the metal brackets that the brake pads seat onto a bit of a clean. One of the pads was properly seized on, which could be because of build up of brake dust. The new pads didn't come with new ones of these, probably as expected because I went cheap with them. They were 20 something pounds. I could have spent double that. I was going to spend double that, but for the brake discs from Euro Car Parts, there was only one option of brand, which is Odora, and therefore I thought, well, if I'm getting the cheap brand of discs, I'll get the Odora pads as well. Presumably they like each other as they're the same make and they will work well together. Now for the fun part. So what we haven't seen on the channel before is brakes you have to wind back. So let's get the wind back tool out and we're going to spin that piston round until it goes back to where it started when the pad was brand new. Often these things are difficult because they are so stiff. It's really hard to spin round, and you can see from my tool that I don't have much leverage there, but you can see where I've bent it before. But the problem with this one was just it span round and round and round without going in. So as you saw, I got out my big 22mm spanner to apply some pressure on it, and that seems to have got it all the way back into its slot. I know I did say I wasn't going to go into detail on this, but it seems like I have. Next is put the grease onto the contact point where the pad touches the carrier and the metal plates that I cleaned up, and then bolt the caliper back on, put the weird rubber sound deadening thing back on, put some copper grease on the hub and the wheel studs, which I've already put a bit on, put the wheel back on, put it down, check the brake fluid, side's done. One thing that's worth pointing out is the pad that goes on the inside and touches the piston I've just been winding in has a little nipple on it, so when you're finished winding the piston, you see it's got the little grooves that the tool fits into. Those grooves need to be pointing 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock, so that nipple will slot into the groove, otherwise you won't get the caliper. That is one side of a Mokka's rear disc and pads completed. So it was interesting actually that there was a bit of pad left on both of those pads on the passenger side, and there's no scoring on the disc. Makes me slightly concerned that the driver's side caliper is seized, which has caused that pad to wear more than the passenger side. Sometimes when it happens, just the act of changing the pads and winding the piston ring can loosen things up again. So we'll do that, and fingers crossed. I won't bore you making you watch me do the other side, even on a time warp. So next clip, that'll be done, and we will road test it when it's daylight. I lied about not showing you the other side. I thought this was interesting, that the outer pad there is completely worn, but the inner pad isn't. Now that might mean that the pad has just got stuck on the caliper carrier, and that a good clean up is gonna be enough, and it's not the fact the caliper is seized, hopefully. Got to show you the worn pad there, haven't I? Take a look at that, totally worn on that end. No difference between the tab there, which would be metal anyway, and that bit where the pad should be. To the road test then. Brakes work. Now it's time to get the car in the garage and sort out this engine management light. Here goes me trying to explain why this is an interesting fix and what is going on here. This pipe here goes into the inlet manifold here, runs all the way down there to the turbo, which is just in there. Under here there is supposed to be a valve. When that valve becomes faulty, it tends to either drop off or it's stuck open, and that causes more pressure in the engine than it's meant to have, which causes leaks, causes other parts of the PCV system to go faulty. Puts the lights on like we've got in this one. Generally not good stuff. So let's first get this pipe off, have a good look down there, and try and demonstrate that this valve is not there anymore. I'll put on screen what it should look like now, and hopefully we will not see that. Otherwise I've wasted some money on the parts that I've purchased to try and fix this. I don't think there's anything to see down there. Basically the plan is to block it off permanently, because this is a common fault on this engine. So rather than buy a new inlet manifold, which a genuine one costs £700, you can get non-genuine ones on eBay for £125. But as we've seen before in the channel, I have failed miserably by buying cheap eBay parts. I'm still kind of okay with the concept of buying cheap eBay parts if I'm unsure on what the fault is, because it might just prove the point, and you never know, the part may actually fix it long term. But in this case, because it's taking the inlet manifold off is a bit laborious, I'm not going to risk it. And this kit exists, and I've spent £100 on it, £30 of which was delivery from America, so it's cheaper than the non-genuine inlet manifold. I'm going to try that. And here is the kit. We've got there a series of pipes that are going to be plumbed into the engine in order to block out that point of failure on this engine. It's going to use existing pipe work like this one and down to the turbo. I can't remember what else it uses, but we'll work it out as we go along. Well, I say we'll work it out. So this kit is purchased by a company that have got a website, cruisekits.com. Cruise being the Chevrolet Cruise, which is basically a Vauxhall Mokka. And they've produced a really helpful video to help us piece this together. So as I am filming this, I'm going to be watching the video to work it out as I go, because I've not done this before. I will stick a link in the description for cruisekits.com, and also a link to the video that I've used to work out how to fit this kit. First thing I'm going to want to do is to remove this inlet pipe work, because we're going to be working underneath that and we're going to want access to the turbo. The next step in the video is to take this pipe off, which we've already taken off, and I just want to highlight, as it does in the video, that inside here there is a rubber O-ring, but there is also a plastic retaining ring. Now when I took that out the first time, not just now because I'd already looked down there when working out that I needed to purchase the kit, which I did off camera, I lost the plastic retaining clip. Luckily I knew that before I ordered the fix from cruisekits.com, so cruisekit.com also sell those rings. What will come off will just be one ring, what they've sent is two, and I believe that they will both go on, because in the video it talks about this and talks about replacing one with a pair. So just want to highlight that. Next we will be getting that pipe off all the way down to the turbo down there. Just work from this end, undo any clips. We've also got some tape around the serrated pipe that we're removing, so we need to put a cut in the tape because that is taping on a little plastic pipe underneath. A blade, put a cut through the tape. Doesn't matter if we damage this pipe because it is not going back on. One bit of tape, here's another bit of tape. Got this hose as well is clipped on, so you unclip those. And then this is starting to come out. And you can see here, that is the little pipe that was taped to this. And another bit of tape down here. Okay, so now we're all clear except for this last clip. There we go. It says in the Cruise Kits video that this is something that people struggle with. I am one of those people. In theory, you just squeeze those together and that pushes up the clip there and there either side, but my hands aren't strong enough, so what I did was I got two of these picks, one either side, to just wedge in there, and then I can pull it off. Let's have a look at what we've got in the kit then now and see that everything is there and start to build that up. We've got some glue that we need to mix together. The glue takes a long time to dry, and once I've done this I won't be able to start the engine for 15 hours. It's advised in the Cruise Kits video to get this mixed now so it starts to set, it's not too runny when I apply it in the car. Got the glue setting there, which you saw comes in two parts, so mix those together and that will begin to be setting. Next step then is to start to clean down here. In the video they have a special wire brush which I probably should have ordered, but I've got my own wire brush. It's not quite the same that they used in the video, but it will have to do. An interesting thing has happened having done that. You can now see the orange valve just in there. Bad news really, because it means there's a chance that that isn't faulty, but as I know this is a common issue on these cars and I've got the kit, I might as well push on with what I'm doing. It may fix the engine management light problem, it may not, but it may prevent a fault in the future. So what I need to do next then is get that valve out, so I'll shove a screwdriver there and try and pull it out. Just finishing off the clean-up job, so I've got some cotton wool buds, bit of brake glue down there, and stick some cotton wool down there until you stick a new piece of cotton wool down there and it doesn't come out dirty really. And we're just worried about the back side of this, the bulkhead side, because that is where the hole is for that valve, and that is where we are going to glue a little cap to block that hole. This is my last Q-tip. It's coming out brown right at the bottom. That's because I think there's some gunk right at the bottom. I think the side, which is the bit I'm interested in, might be okay. The next step then is on to the assembly, and this was the old hose that we took off the car. We're going to dispense with the plastic hose itself, but the two connections we're going to reuse. So we need to separate that from the hose and that from the hose, and we do that by cutting a slit in the hose to try and break it free. Easy. Now we're going to start to assemble all the pipes and the fittings together. First is this one, which we've just dismantled from the old pipe there, and this is the one that goes onto the turbo that I struggled with that clip fitting there. Bit of lube on there, and then we've got to get it on here. It's going to be tight, so I'm going to need all of my muscles here. We're good. Clamp it up. Now we're taking this T-piece and we're going to join that part of it onto the hose that we've just put onto the turbo terminal. I forgot to put the clamp on first, so now I've got to get that off, which isn't going to be easy, is it? Oh yes! Don't forget to put your clamp on first. Very good advice. Now, with the shorter hose, that's going to go onto there. Yeah, I'm getting all of this from the Cruise Kits video. I cannot take any credit. I'm just following instructions as if it was some sort of Lego set. Clamp it up and put the other clamp on now to make sure I don't forget. And then the other terminal that we took off the car, it goes onto the inlet manifold, will go in there. Next, we're taking this longer piece of smaller diameter hose, which is going to go on there, but then we want that to be joined on there-ish. So we're going to have to cut about that much hose off, so we can join a bit onto there, and then that through the other end. New hose will attach to the second bit. If that doesn't make sense, then just watch this, and hopefully it becomes clear. This valve has an arrow on it. We all saw that, right? So the arrow is going to point away from the hose assembly, so go in like that. With the clamp there, I haven't done it all the way up. It wants to sit on the fat bit, the bump at the end of the piece there. So that is going to give it the tightest, securest hold. And then get the rest of the bit of the hose that we just cut onto there and give it a clamp. Next, we've got some more stuff to take off the car. I pointed at this vaguely earlier, so I need to get this off. In the Cruise Kits video, there is a connection there. Sadly, on mine there isn't, so I'm going to have to undo both of these connections as well. So it's this one, which again has a lovely serrated edge that you have to squeeze in to pull off, which again I'm struggling with, so I've had to come down to that. This green bit will lift off and then that should come out quite easily, and on this plug here that red bit should pull up, and then hopefully that comes away easily as well. I got it out, but in the process the green clip that I thought would just pull out has broken in half. Hopefully I can somehow wangle that back in so it's secure, because that looks like a fuel pipe, not something that I want leaking. Now we've got that off, we are going to disconnect the hose from there and there. Then we're taking the smaller bit of hose that we haven't yet to fit, we're going to cut that in half and connect up to the parts that we've just chopped the plastic original hose off. Just clamp those down and put the second clamp on. And then we're going to take this Y piece, and Y piece is going to point, the bit shooting off at the side is going to point away from the terminal with the serrated clip that I love. And then clamp that up. If this is wrong, it's going to go onto the bit that shoots off to the side. And then last clamp onto this long piece of hose and install onto the bit we've just done. Except you want it pointing that way. We're going to put the plug into the hole now. I want to get some fresh gloves because I want zero grease going on here. We've been provided with an alcohol wipe to get rid of any grease, to ensure this goes smoothly. I'm sure it's going to go smoothly, right? Okay, so we clean that real good. Let's put it on this. Ready? And then give this a good clean. And then I've got my glue dots. I love the glue dot, which we're going to put over the top of the plug. Peel away the plastic now. There we go. And then attach the plug to the cleaned screwdriver. So on the plug you see there's an opening. The opening has to be either to the left or the right as it goes into the hole. The video recommends that you do a dry fitting, so before you put any epoxy on, you stick the plug and the screwdriver down the hole. I'm a bit scared to do that in case I drop it, so I'm just doing it with this pick here, and you can see you go down to the bottom, you push it that way with my fingers pointing, and then you gently lift up, and then the thing should find the hole like that. Here's the epoxy we made earlier. I'm just going to apply that around the plug and we're ready to go in. Just doing a bit more epoxy around the actual clip part of the plug there. Lovely and neat. Let's do this. I'm not feeling the hole. Oh, I'm not feeling the hole. Oh, I'm not liking this. In the video it looks so easy. Pushed it in and it stayed in, so I reckon we're good just in there. Well, I didn't get the satisfying click that you're supposed to get, but I think it's in there. I'm just going to have to let it set now and wait and see if it works. Let's get our hoses installed then. On the video, I'm going to keep referring to the Cruise Kits video, but says that the fuel pressure regulator line here, the hose needs to go underneath that. I want to get this fuel line connected because I'm concerned about the plug that I broke. That should be okay. We have installed the new hose from here around the back. There's the clip I broke. I think I'll just put some electrical tape going around that clip just to keep that green down, because that green is partly what's stopping that pipe come out. The bottom bit of the green is in there, so that is preventing it come out anyway, so it'd probably be okay as it is, but I'm just gonna put some tape on it. It's not gonna look pretty, but safety first. And then it comes round. Now I'm not too happy with this bit. The new hose there is touching the fuel pipe, the yellow sticker on it there. It's not too bad. I mean, it's rubber on rubber. Actually, it's the check valve on rubber that it shouldn't rub through. I'm gonna move that clip around a little bit just so there's lower risk of that bit of metal poking a hole in this heater hose here. And then I put that through that bracket. That's not going to close anymore because this hose is bigger than the old one. It's going to be the same story there. I've not connected that up at the moment because we want air to get to the epoxy so it cures as best it can. I've got this flapping around still, so I'm going to just cable tie all of that together, which is pretty much how it was before because it was taped to the old pipe, if you remember. We had to cut off, and then it comes all the way down to the turbo. Nice. There's one more piece that came with the kit that we have not yet fitted. So that is this bracket and the washer and the screw there. So this is going to go on to that and hold the hose at the back here. The clamp is going to go on there, and then the washer will go over the top, and then the screw. Just the intake pipes go back on them. That's about as much as I can do tonight, but I've put those white nylon retaining rings back into this terminal ready to go back on to there tomorrow. So there are two of those in there. Ones I got from Cruise. There is a brake in each ring, so I've put the brake on opposite sides to reduce the risk of vacuum leakage. Before we go in for the night, we can just clear the trouble code, so it should be ready to go tomorrow. Welcome to the next morning. It has probably been 15 hours since the glue was applied and the plug was inserted, but I don't need to start it just yet, so I'm going to leave it a little bit longer so we're closer to that 24 hours mark. But what I can do now is get this clipped on to the inlet manifold there. Just going to give it a bit of lube. Do some lube in there as well. Tight. That's why I wanted to do this now. Just cannot quite get the force on it to get that satisfying click that you should hear. And there it is. That is the click we're in. And that is it. The kit is installed. Just the road test to go to check if it's made any difference. Here's hoping. Customer.
Very satisfied as always.
New lights on at the moment, where it normally comes on in traffic, so hopefully we'll see some traffic and can test it properly. Because we've hit the traffic, so it's now when the light might have come on, but it hasn't. So it's a good sign. We'll give it a few more days testing and then I will check back in with you. This clip was supposed to be me with the car outside somewhere saying, yes, everything's good, the light stayed off, but you know what's coming. The light has unfortunately come back on. As frustrating as it is, because we've just done all of that work with the crankcase ventilation pipe work, but because having read up on that and understanding it's a common fault, I think it's nice to know that that's done. Therefore it's a permanent fix for that little orange nipple that vanishes. So here we are in the dark, still trying to work out what is wrong with this car. The symptoms that go along with the warning light and the codes are when you pull away. I haven't experienced this myself, but when you pull away it's sluggish and then suddenly it will pick up and go, I guess like a turbo with loads of lag. And before I discovered the common fault with the nipple in the inlet manifold, which prompted me to get the new pipe work from America, I was leaning towards trying a MAF sensor, because the MAF sensor reads the amount of air coming into the engine through the intake, and then that tells the ECU how much air has come through, so that the ECU can match that air with the right proportion of fuel. 14.7 parts of air to 1 part fuel, if I remember correctly from my college days at Vauxhall. So that symptom of the car being sluggish on pull away and then suddenly picking up is a symptom of a faulty MAF. So with the code we've got, with the engine running lean and that actual symptom manifesting, I think the next step I'm going to try is the MAF sensor. But first, let's just check the codes again. So when I try and clear these, it's interesting that it doesn't clear. That code is stayed in there permanently. With the engine not running, that seems odd. Normally I'd expect the code to clear, and as you're driving, when the fault occurs, that's what triggers the code. So the fact it's coming up straight away makes me think there is something properly wrong with a sensor or a computer somewhere that is just permanently wrong. That's good in a way, because it means that we should know when we fixed it. So let's look under the bonnet, check out where that MAF sensor is. I think we're going to have to pull it out to get a part number so I can make sure I'm ordering the right part. Before I do that, I should also add some issues that Hannah has reported. When she was driving along today, she got a message come up on the dash saying that the engine was running too hot and to turn the aircon off, and then the car automatically turned the aircon off apparently, and immediately the temperature gauge went back to normal. Seems odd and sounds totally unrelated. Maybe it was just a fluke, but anyway, I'm going to pursue the MAF, because otherwise it's some bigger computer issue that's going on. Let's try and solve the MAF problem and hope that that is isolated to anything else. This is the MAF sensor in here. There are 2 Phillips screws either side. Let's unscrew those and then we can check out the part number. And there's the part number. Let's get a picture of that and get one ordered. And we found one here with the reference to the OEM part number. This is a Bosch, so it should be as well. It's referencing to an OEM part number, which kind of suggests it's not OEM, but it's Bosch, so it is OEM. So 80 quid. Let's get it. It's easy to fit. It's worth a try. So that's the new MAF sensor fitted. We're now in the car with the DTC reader to see if the codes will clear, because last time that P0171 code wouldn't clear with the car not running, and my hope was that that meant it was a faulty MAF sensor. Let's see what's happening now. Let's read the code first. So by replacing the MAF now, I'm hoping that the code P1101, which was the code that wouldn't clear last time, now will. Let's see. It has now cleared, so that's a good sign. Let's let the car have a few drives with Hannah and I will report back in a sec. Well, frustratingly, the light has come back on. So it seems like we spent a video chucking parts of this car, and whilst that might seem like a waste of money, with the first fix with the inlet manifold and the pipe kit for the ventilation for the crankcase, I don't feel like that was a complete waste of time, because that obviously is a common problem on these cars and this engine. Hopefully that's a problem that we've prevented further down the line. With regards to the MAF sensor, yes, it costs £80, but MAFs are a common point of failure on any car. And I know from my time working on Vauxhalls professionally, it certainly was always a common part to replace. So for £80, easy to fix, I don't mind that I've spent that money. But now we are where we are, we've still got the fault and we need to get it fixed. And to make matters worse, not only has the light come back on, but the car has been overheating. Interestingly, when the management light first came on, this code was thrown up, suggesting there's an issue with the thermostat, and that code has not come back since, which is why I hadn't considered replacing that. But now the car is actually overheating, and thermostats being a fairly common fault on Vauxhalls from my experience. So again, I'm going to chuck another part at it and I'm going to do the thermostat, but I've run out of time in this video, so we're going to have to cut it there. Keep an eye out for the next one where we continue trying to fix this Mokka. See you then.